Before we get started, I have a few housekeeping announcements. We have handouts in Spanish and English for tonight's meeting. I want to remind audience members that we have headsets available for in-person Spanish interpretation and our Zoom session for those viewing at home. So there's interpretation available at home as well. If you need headsets, you can get them at the sign-in table at the entrance. Tonight, our project consultants are Walsh, Gallego, Trevino, Kyle, and Robinson, and they're here to go over some of the information about SAISD redistricting. So our agenda tonight, I'm going to welcome from me, then you'll get to meet our new superintendent, Jaime Aquino. We'll go over the redistricting proposal for a single member District 1, and there'll be a chance for community feedback and questions. Okay, and I would like just to say that we'll go here. So what is redistricting? Every 10 years, the US undertakes a census where we get a sense of who is living in our communities within our boundaries. After we get that information, we know if our population has grown, if it's declined, and we then are required by law to redraw the lines of the electoral bodies that we vote for. And so in this case, for school districts. So we are looking at population growth and decline across the district, and then coming up with a proposal to make sure that we are balancing and have a representative proportional balance of community members across the district. And just note, redistricting does not affect the schools that your children attend. So that is a separate process. Whatever you're zoned through is different from redistricting. Redistricting just determines who represents you as a school board member. And we have 7 single member districts in San Antonio ISD. And we're just looking at shifting those boundaries as necessary. So it will determine who will represent you in those districts. Okay, and then single member District 1, the district that I represent, we have some amazing schools. And I want to express my gratitude to all the parents, students, teachers, staff, and community members that are so dedicated to our students and our future. And I'm proud to represent the following campuses in District 1. And that's Advanced Learning Academy, Brackenridge High School, Cass Tech High School, Fox Tech High School, Travis Early College High School, Bonham Academy, Bowdoin Academy, Hawthorne Academy, Douglas Elementary School, Lamar Elementary School, Pershing Elementary School, Gonzalez Early Childhood Education Center, Barra County Juvenile Detention Center, Barra County Juvenile Justice Academy, Healy Murphy Center, and Healy Murphy Center Pre-K. These are wonderful schools with great school communities. I'm very proud to represent them. And actually, before I get started, I also want to recognize Principal Noemi Davila with Brackenridge High School and the outstanding teachers and staff at this school for supporting us and hosting this event. So as we move forward with this discussion, there's a chance for you to get involved and share your thoughts, share any questions that you have. So please get involved in the conversation. And this is a community engagement process, and we want to hear from you. So you can use the QR code that's on display here on the screen or on Zoom, and that will connect you to the district website where you can provide information. You can also visit the SAISD website about redistricting, which is saisd.net/redistricting. Okay, and I also encourage you to join us for the rest of the series of town halls that are planned from now until October 3rd, and they're across the district. I think we have one tomorrow at Burbank High School and Monday, I believe, at at Sam Houston. And those are the remaining ones, right? Those are the last two. So if there are any parents here in the audience, for parents, I encourage you and guests to visit our information tables about SAI at the back of the room about the SAISD Foundation Family Car Incentive Program that encourages students from all campuses to attend classes every day. And information about enrollment, an enrollment booth with information about our schools throughout the district and information on our 2020 bond program. So we have lots of exciting things happening in the district, and come check it out. Okay, next item on our agenda is the welcome of our new superintendent, Dr. Jaime Aquino. I'm really proud to introduce Dr. Aquino. You know, he blew me away. I think he blew the other board members away when he interviewed in the spring. It feels much longer than it's been a long time. We've asked him to do a lot. Just with his appreciation of our community and his commitment to serving our families and our students well, and just his authenticity as a human being. He comes across being very genuine and caring, and it's been a pleasure to work with him. He does have 35 years of experience in education. He started out as a teacher, as a bilingual teacher, and he will say over and over again that his role as a teacher is really the most important role that he's had. And it's the thing that he refers to himself as, no matter what other titles he gets on top of that, being a teacher is the most important. And it's something that as a board member, knowing that we can trust him to guide and support high quality instruction across our district, and supporting our teachers and our students in that process. It's really exciting to have him on board. I know he's going to have a lot of things to say about himself, but you know, he came to this country as an immigrant, and it knows what it is to learn a new language as an adult. And so he has really a deep appreciation for what many of our students are going through and what their parents are going through, and really understands and listens to them. Yeah, I'm very excited for you to meet him now. So let me introduce you to our new superintendent, Dr. Jaime Aquino, who always insists that we just call him Jaime.
Good afternoon, everyone here, and those of you remotely. Thank you, Trustee Sorensen, for that kind and generous introduction. Don't know if I deserve it, but as she said, I am a teacher, and I will die being a teacher. I don't care about the title of superintendent. I am not here. I've said it during my appointment. I am not here to lead. I'm here to serve all of you, the children, our family, our staff. And it is an amazing honor of a lifetime to have this opportunity to be part of all of you on this amazing journey of making miracles happen for every single of our kids. I've been saying lately that I feel like I've died and landed in heaven in the great San Antonio Independent School District. That's how much I feel in terms of part of this familia. And I thank you all for welcoming me and embracing me and making me another member of the great SAISD family or familia. As Trustee Sorensen said, I am here. The few moments that I will lead is I'm leading with a teacher's heart. I always will remember all the time that I spent in the classroom in New York City, and every decision that we will make as a team, we want to think about what's the impact that this will have on our teacher and in our classroom. The teachers are the ones who really, with their principal and all the support staff, are really going to make a difference. I am not naive. I can tell you, once I finish here, my tenure is gone. I'm not so sure if there will be a student who remember the name of their superintendent, but they would definitely remember the name of their teacher, their principal, the counselor, the custodian, the nurse. So part of my role is to work behind the scenes so that every single student leave was rewarding, fulfilling experience in the 12 or 13 years that we spent, that they spend with us. So, and I want to start with like, and how are the children? Well, how are the children in the San Antonio Independent School District? I am so excited. You probably all know this, but it merits repeating, which is that the district was able to maintain its B after what was the most difficult 2 years that we have experienced as a country and in public education. This is just unbelievable. And not only did we do a B, it is a solid B where we increased 2 or 3 points from pre-pandemic levels. And I am happy. We hear a lot of this like learning loss that happened as a result of the pandemic. By the way, don't like that term, but that's the term that most people have come to attribute to what happened. But we, and people told us it's going to take a generation to recover from that loss. And here in SAISD, we have demonstrated that that's not the case. In reading, we have matched or surpassed our pre-pandemic levels in 2019 in every single grade level. And we're almost there in math. And that's only credit first to the leadership that begins at the top with an amazing board that is so focused on being relentless on improving student learning. And then by our principal, our central office, our teachers, the family, and most importantly, the student. And we have 63% of our schools have been rated A or B. And in 2019, we only had 27. So we went from 27 to 63% of our students rated A and B. That shows that no matter how the kid comes to us, it's no excuse for the way they leave us. And we are demonstrating that with your background, your zip code, your socioeconomic status, your home language does not determine your educational destiny. So for everybody who's watching here in San Antonio, in the state of Texas, this great country of ours, we are showing that when we set our mind to discover the brilliance in our kids and in our staff, we can deliver great results. And here's, you can see in 2017, we had about 24,000 students who were attending a failing school. Happy to say that this year we have reduced that and we only 2,700. That's not good enough. We're happy of the progress, but we're going to continue. Even when all of our schools are rated A, we're going to continue making sure that every single student has the possibility of flying without wings and dream big and make the impossible reality in their own lives. Here in single member district 1, right? Here's some of the highlights that I'd like to share. Douglas Elementary and Bowden Academy improved from an F in 2019 to a B rating. Lamar Elementary and Bonham Academy, and I was at Bonham on Monday. They're doing an amazing thing. And Lamar, I've been there several times, improved from a D to a B rating. ALA and Cass Tech both earned 5 distinctions. And finally, Travis Early College and ALA both graduated 100% of their class of 2021. So as you can see, San Antonio Independent School District is an amazing place, and we're committed to making sure that we provide academic excellence. The news gets even better. We have exceeded our projection, our enrollment projection. We are 45,000 students strong. Actually, we are 719 as of yesterday students over our enrollment projection. That means, yes, thank you. That deserves an applause. That means that the word is getting out there of the great things that are happening in our district, and so proud to be part of this journey with all of you. As you know, our first and utmost priority is the safety of our children and our staff and our faculty. And we take that very seriously. We take it very seriously, not because of Uvalde. We do it because we understand that the parents, you send your most treasured possession, your children, to our care. And we want to make sure that we don't disappoint you in terms of making sure they're safe. So all our schools are safe. I want to say that, but I do want to highlight some enhancements that we have done this year to even be more cautious and more protective of all our staff and children. We have invested this school year $40 million to improve the safety and security across the district. 20 million of that has been invested in mental and social emotional health for our students and family. So we want to make sure that we attend to the needs and be able to be proactive and prevent and support so that everybody can be successful. The other half, the 20 million, it's been invested in making sure that every single campus has those safety enhancements that will ensure that if in any crisis that we're ready to serve. And we demonstrated that last week at Jefferson High School. Very proud of how the SAPD and the San Antonio ISD community and the teachers and staff kept every single student and staff members safe. And our response was in 2 minutes, we were in the hallway. So we know that any incident like that, SAISD is prepared to deal with it. So where are we heading? I have the great honor of working with an amazing board, and we spent at the beginning of my tenure a retreat, 2 days, where we wanted to talk about what is our declaration statement. And this is what we came up after a lot of back and forth. We declare the possibility that the San Antonio ISD is an inclusive familia that is the destination for transformational learning that makes the impossible a reality by demonstrating an urgent and relentless commitment to loving, nurturing, and teaching all our children like if they were our own, so that they have the potential to shape the world and leave it a better place for the future generation. So proud of this declaration statement because I think it's the only one in the country that has a word in Spanish, familia. We could have said family, but familia really captures the essence of what I have experienced here in the city of San Antonio. This is true. It is a family, but familia has an even much more deeper connotation. It also takes us back to our culture and heritage and our language, how we honor that. And then the other piece of this, we're not only here to teach your kids. We're here to teach them, but we're also going to nurture them and love them so that they can fulfill their potential and transform the world. So really proud of that. And our direction is we want to achieve what everybody believes is impossible in public education. We want to make miracles happen for all of our kids by making SAISD a destination district. And what do we mean by destination district? A district where students and families choose to send their kids and come to our school because they're going to receive a well-rounded education. We have some evidence of that this year because we have 719 students exceeding our enrollment projection. So the word is getting out there, but we don't want to stop there. We want to make sure that this is a destination district for our staff. The staff comes here because this is a place where they can perfect their craft in their quest to help every single child achieve to their fullest potential. And that's what we're commitment. Trustee Sorensen, talk about this. Like it takes a village to raise a child. And I am so grateful to the San Antonio ISD Foundation. I see Judy Gilhold in the back, the head of the foundation. If it weren't because of them and the generosity of all the community, business community and investors, that they believe in public education, that they give us resources to be able to support the work of our teachers and our students. And one of them is, as Trustee Sorensen was mentioning, was this whole notion that we need all the kids to come every single day because we are preparing them to be the next governor, the next superintendent, and the next president of the United States. And every time they miss one day, they're missing the skills and knowledge that are going to give them the tool to a life without boundaries. So we're committed to that. And we want them to attend, to achieve, and the possibility of winning. So if our students meet the parameters of improved attendance every 9 weeks or perfect attendance, they have the possibility of winning this. Let's take a look. Roll it.
The SAISD Foundation has got something you can rap about. Getting gear for good attendance. Every day your child attends school makes you one step closer to becoming the owner of a brand new Toyota RAV4. Visit SAISDfoundation.com to see how you can attend, achieve, and win.
The kids are excited. A brand new Toyota RAV4. Thank you to the SAISD Foundation. Thank you to Frost Bank and Don Frost and Toyota Cavender and Rick Cavender for their great support. In addition to that, every 9 weeks, the foundation is going to be giving us gifts so that we can give to the kids as they are continue on this journey. So as you can see, great things are happening in the district. We are committed in this district to making miracles happen for all kids, because whatever it takes, our kids are worth it. And with that, I want to thank Trustee Sorensen and the entire for allowing me to serve as a father to 46,000 beautiful children. So thank you very much. Now turn it back to our amazing trustee of District 1, the incredible Sarah Sorensen.
Thank you, Dr. Aquino. So we're now going to learn more about the redistricting process, and I would like to introduce you to the redistricting team. Yeah. Does it come up? Oh, whoops. Okay, sorry. There we go. Walsh Gallegos Trevino Kyle Robinson PC provides legal services to school districts and related entities in Texas in the areas of employment, special education, constitutional law, civil rights, and business. They have offices throughout Texas, and they have served districts across the state with reliable representation since 1983. Their attorneys serve as advocates in school and governmental law areas, including employment, special education, constitutional law, civil rights, construction, and business. And so tonight, our presenters, our consultants that we've hired for this process, we have Tony Resendes and Eddie Hernandez Perez, both our attorneys with Walsh Gallegos, Trevino, Kyle, and Robinson.
Good afternoon, everyone, or good evening, everyone. We appreciate the opportunity to come before you and share with you some information and hopefully get some input from you regarding the redistricting process. So we have a short presentation. I'm going to start the first part of it, and my colleague Eddie Hernandez Perez will follow up with regard to the more specifics and the changes that are being proposed for your school district. Okay, so we're going to talk about what is redistricting. Your board member Sorensen talked a little bit about it, and the presentation is going to talk about your governance structure, the requirements for redistricting, and how to get feedback to the board. So what is redistricting? Redistricting is a process where we change and adjust the geographical boundaries based on the changes in your population. So the idea is one person, one vote. So we need to balance the population in each single member district to be about close to the same population in order to give the community the same weight with regard to representation. San Antonio ISD School Board has 7 trustees, and that is the governing structure that you have. So you have 7 single member districts, and those are the 7 districts we have to adjust. Some districts have 9 board members. Actually, some even have 3, but San Antonio ISD has 7. And your next election is in May of 2023. So we have to have this redistricting done by then. So why is San Antonio ISD redistricting? Well, the education code requires that after the census is taken, if the data shows that the population between the largest district and the smallest district is greater than 10%, then we have to go back and redraw the lines to make sure that the population is balanced. So when we use the data and plugged it into our system, our demographer came up with the information showing that you're 21.7% deviation from the largest district to the smallest district. So by law, we are past that 10% threshold. So San Antonio ISD is required to redistrict, to rebalance the population. What are the requirements? So again, we have to draw the districts to where the deviation is at or less than 10% in population variance. We have to make sure that the single member districts are compact and contiguous. We don't want to have them looking at odd shapes or any type of shape that isn't compact and contiguous. We have to comply with Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act, meaning we need to protect any minority group's interest, and we do that in San Antonio ISD very well. The total deviation, again, has to be at or less than 10%. So that's what the requirements are in general. Additional criteria. We need to use easily identifiable boundaries, roads, streets, highways, creeks, rivers. That helps us when we draw the map to make sure we know exactly what neighborhoods and what areas are in each particular district. We need to preserve the incumbent constituency relations. We're going to keep every current elected single member district trustee in their current single member district. And we need to maintain communities of interest and keep neighborhoods together. So those are the additional criteria that we use when we redraw the maps. So this is a chart of the data, and on the district's website, if you want to look at this more closely, it is all on that website for you to review. And we also have handouts here for those that are here, but those watching online, everything is available online. The idea is to provide the community with as much information so we can get good quality input as we look at the process and adjust these lines. So you'll see single member district 2 has the most population right now, and single member district 4 has the least population. So the idea is to balance, of course, all 7 single member districts to get within the 10% deviation rule. So here's a picture of your current map, and then the picture of the draft revised map. And you'll see there's some dotted circular lines around the areas that have been adjusted, where we have moved, or we've moved the lines to adjust the population to be within that threshold. And the overall population, we want it to be close to around 43,000 per single member district, roughly. So I'm going to have Eddie Hernandez-Perez come up and talk to you a little bit more about the specific adjustments that have been proposed and that have been made for your consideration. Okay.
Alrighty, thank you, Tony. As Tony mentioned, I'll go back to a previous slide here. These are the numbers that we're working with from following the 2020 census. So what I would call out here are 2 things. One is District 2 currently has the largest population, and District 4 has the smallest population. And so those are the 2 areas that are primarily targeted for change, to achieve that 1 person, 1 vote balance, as Tony went over. But that doesn't mean that there aren't other opportunities to change. When the board took a look at the maps and looked at the populations, they also identified other areas where it made more sense to keep other communities of interest together, specifically around feeder patterns. So there were some changes made to align feeder patterns in terms of, so to make sure that when parents send their kids to school, that school feeds into a larger high school, the feeder pattern high school, that the trustee boundaries as best as possible align with that as well. And I'll highlight a few of those changes here in a minute. So the big change here is we need to rebalance District 2. District 2 has the largest population. And so what we'll see here in the proposed changes is that District 2 is going to have a smaller population. Again, we're making sure that districts run along easily identifiable boundaries. And more or less what we're trying to do is make sure that the single member districts make sense, that they look like they are, as Tony mentioned, compact and contiguous. They're not an odd shape. As best we can, we're using major landmarks as boundaries. I mentioned the adjustment to high school feeder patterns. And as best as possible, the board had the goal of maintaining current boundaries, again, for the sake of consistency. So the proposed map, the original map, there was over a 21% difference between the largest district, District 2, and the smallest district, District 4. The proposed map now brings us under 10%, under a 10% differential. So as you see here, if the proposed map is adopted in its current form, the difference between the largest district and the smallest district is under 10%. It's 9.1%. So because we are in District 1, I'll spend a little bit of time highlighting the proposed changes to District 1, and I'll briefly touch on changes in other districts. And of course, if there are any questions, we can get into the specifics of those other districts as well. So 2 proposed changes to District 1. The first that I'll highlight is in the north western portion of the district here. This area is more or less the Monte Vista area. So the boundary to the right is McCullough Avenue, and the boundary to the bottom portion of the green block there, the southern portion, that's Mulberry Street. So the big change is that portion of Monte Vista is moving out of District 1. District 1 was one of the larger school districts, and so this was an attempt to more accurately balance the districts, and it's moving out of District 1 into District 6. The other change was less about population and more about identifying clear boundaries. And that is this little piece here that is moving from District 2, or I'm sorry, from District 2 into District 1. And it's a very small area, not a big population, but it's again, the goal is to align with clearly identifiable boundaries. So here's some proposed changes from District 2. As you can see, the primary changes are highlighted here to the west. Proposed changes to District 3, primarily to the north there. Here, District 4 changes in the northeastern portion of District 4. There were no changes to District 5. District 5 was already very close to the average of the goal population, and so there were no changes necessary there. The boundaries were already ran along easily identifiable boundaries, and so the board is not proposing any changes to District 5. Some changes to District 6. Here you can see this portion of District 6 moved over into District 7. The purpose of that was to move an elementary school, Arnold Elementary, which feeds into the Jefferson feeder pattern, but is currently under the current map. It falls under single member district 6. And so with the proposed change, it will move from District 6 to District 7. So Arnold Elementary that feeds into Jefferson will also fit into that District 7 single member district. And then there's a small change here at the bottom. This neighborhood feeds into the Beacon Hill Elementary, which is District 6, but currently under the current map falls under single member District 7. And so it's kind of the opposite of what happened at the top there. Those folks feed into Beacon Hill Elementary and ultimately Edison High School. And so the proposed change will align those between the single member district and also the feeder pattern. And then I mentioned the changes here to District 7. So moving that boundary over to Vance Jackson has the goal of moving Arnold Elementary into District 7. And that change at the bottom, those folks that feed into Beacon Hill Elementary and Edison will now move into District 6. So I touched on a few of the campuses. Here are the campuses that are moving from one district to another, again, to align the feeder pattern with the single member trustee that represents that area. So Arnold Elementary is moving from District 6 to District 7. Smith Elementary is going from single member District 2 to District 4. Highland Park Elementary goes from single member District 4 to single member District 3. And again, the purpose is to align where these folks go to school with the trustee that represents that area. Here's an illustration of those changes. So Arnold moving from out of single member District 6 to District 7. Smith Elementary moving over. Highland Park Elementary moving from single member District 4 to District 3. In terms of next steps, so step 1, the board met, they thought about what changes make sense, align with aligning the population, looking at statutory requirements and those communities of interest that we discussed. That was step 1. Step 2 is what we're doing here. So we're gathering community input, and the board is going to take the input that we receive from the community and incorporate it into their final decision. The Board of Trustees will adopt a map, and then within 30 days of adopting a map, the district will provide notice to the county of those changes. In terms of transitioning to the new map, it will become effective for the district's next election, which is scheduled for May 6th of next year, 2023. And it will impact all of the trustee districts, but only 3 of them are up for election next year. And that is single member districts 2, 5, and 6. SAISD will also continue to communicate these changes on their website. So proposed maps, existing maps, you can find all of that on the district's website. So some additional information. Redistricting, the only purpose of redistricting is to balance the number of folks in each single member district and who they vote for. It does not change the outermost boundary of San Antonio ISD. So we're not taking over any other portion of a neighboring school district. That the outer boundaries remain the same. Just to reiterate, redistricting does not have any impact on where kids go to school or zoning. That is a completely different process, and it's not one that we're going through at the moment. And again, redistricting, it's not a choice. So it's something that the district is required to do following the census if the districts are out of balance. So if there's that greater than 10% differential, and again, we're well over that, which is what triggered the requirement this year. The district has sought community input on several occasions, including tonight, and there are 2 more meetings after tonight. So there's a meeting tomorrow at Burbank, and the next Monday, we're scheduled for a meeting at Sam Houston. And if you're interested in submitting feedback via email, there is an email account, community@saisd.net, where you can submit any comments, concerns, questions that you may have. There's the district's website where you can find the additional information that we discussed, and that email address as well if there are any questions. And that concludes the substantive portion of our presentation. If there are any questions here or via Zoom, I know there's some folks joining us virtually, we'd be happy to discuss. No questions? Nothing so far. We'll give that a minute. And then there are some in the meantime, there are some frequently asked questions that we can go over here. So the first question that we get pretty often is, the community, we understand that we need to be below 10%, but wouldn't it be better if we got closer to 0%, right? Currently, the proposed map has us at about 9.1% differential. So wouldn't it be better if we got it down to 0? And in theory, yes, that would be ideal. But in practice, there are so many other factors that when we start changing boundaries, if the only thing that we focus on is getting that number down to 0, we may have to compromise on for example, the feeder patterns, right? Or we may have to split a community, a neighborhood. We may have to draw some lines that don't really make a whole lot of sense to the eye or to folks that live in the neighborhood. So it's really a balancing act. So while it would be great if we could have all of those factors and check all of those boxes, in reality, as long as we're below 10%, we're compliant, and as for balancing all of those other factors, we've accomplished what the state and federal law requires. Another question that we've received is whether the community understands that we're using census data, but the question is, does the census data take into account undocumented immigrants? The short answer is that it's supposed to. The census is supposed to count everybody. The mandate in the Constitution is that we count people, individuals, not citizens, not any other descriptor. But 2020 was an odd year for lots of reasons, one of them being the pandemic. So for better or worse, in all likelihood, there's an undercount, but we have no way to establish that. The numbers that we have to work with are those in the census. And so the answer is yes, it should count those folks. It should count, they're members of our community and they should be counted, but it's hard to say that they were counted to the extent that they likely should have been. But the goal was to count all individuals. A third question is about why we use the general population numbers. If we're talking about elections, why don't we look at registered voters or active voting population, voting age population, for example? It's interesting to think about that, but the numbers that we are required to use are, again, that's those census numbers, and what we are charged to use are just total population. So it's interesting to kind of run the numbers and see how those compare and contrast, but that's not what we're required to do. And if, in fact, if we did that, some communities vote in higher numbers than others. And so we may end up with a smaller population that has a disproportionate impact on who they vote for and who's elected. So it kind of runs contrary to the idea that Tony touched on of that one person, one vote. And lastly, just to reiterate, attendance boundaries are not going to change. If you send your child to the school on the corner, that will continue to be the case as long as you choose for that to be the case. This process has no impact on total or on attendance boundaries for schools. So with that, if there are any questions here in the audience, any questions online, getting a no for questions online, give it a minute. I can start calling on people. I'm comfortable doing that. Pop quiz time. Nope. All righty. Well, thank you all so much for coming out. Hopefully it provided a little bit of insight into this very important process.
That was a very clear explanation of what this process is. And I can assure you as a board member, we take this process very seriously. We, want all of the votes of our community members to count and for their voice to be heard. So please, if you have any feedback on this process, on the proposed maps, particularly around kind of the communities of interest, something that maybe we didn't consider, we didn't think about. If you want to share that, please share that with us so we can consider that moving forward. Thank you for coming. Thank you for attending online. Let me make sure I bring up, I think I can bring up the QR code one more time. Maybe. Okay, it's coming. I'll bring up the QR code one more time to share your feedback. Again, you can go to saisd.net/redistricting. And you can also reach out to us on email. Again, thank you for your time. Thank you to the administrative staff from SAISD who are also here, who put together these great events for us. They make everything really polished and run really well. And I know as a board member, I appreciate being able to just step in, show up and do the best I can. And you guys lay out a great groundwork for us. So have a wonderful evening. Reach out to us if you have concerns about redistricting, anything else. We want to hear from you. This is your district. This is our district. And we're in this together to make sure that we are serving our students well. Good night.
you.